Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Trapeza TV. I'm Tony Ngare, coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. I want to welcome you all to our live broadcast today. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're watching us. So invite your friends and tell them we are online and we're ready to change lives. So our topic today is finishing what you started, and I won't preach through, but I prepared a very beautiful message for you. All you got to do is listen through. So I hope this helps you and you benefit from it. And thank you very much. What drives you to follow through and finish what you start? And how can you remain motivated? So this topic generally talks about staying hungry. So we consider a woman named Sally, who is an idealist. So she started a charity to benefit impoverished people. And what she did not anticipate was the influx of challenges, that came along with her endeavor. She did not realize that working in a non-profit setting still counts as business, and that her work would involve far more business than just helping people. So whenever she encountered the challenge in procuring funding, competing with other charities for donations and grants, and even creating market to incite interest in a cause, she felt overwhelmed. A question she asked herself is, why is it so hard to get people to care about other people? Pretty soon, Sally becomes completely disinterested in her work. It just carries with it too many negative feelings and associations. She hated writing grant letters and attending charity events. It took only a few months for her to give up on a cause that she cared deeply about. And other people wondered why she stopped working for something that meant so much to her. I think a key to Sally's failure was her inability to anticipate and plan for negative aspects of her foundation. She imagined doing more to help people and working less to procure funding, because she relied solely on her goals to give her motivation to follow through. She did not give herself anything to actually help her defeat the negative aspects of the business side of her foundation. The true problem that Sally had, however, was, failing to find a true source of motivation. She needed to have found a true source of motivation, to help her carry through the discouraging effects of the negatives. By creating a balance between a dream, the positives, and the negatives would have been acceptable obstacles in pursuit of a grand goal. She could have also kept her motivation alive by reminding herself of why she undertook this project in the first place, and how each thing she did, even the task she hated, led to the fulfillment of her idealistic dream. So Sally is a great example of how you can't just count on your passion for something to lead you to follow through. Sometimes we just don't care about what we are doing, and thus we don't follow through. We lose steam because of disinterest. That's understandable, but even caring about something is not always the key to following through. Sometimes, even for the things we care about, we still can't follow through because we lack a drive to push us forward. This lack of drive is caused by a massive disconnect between three important aspects. Number one, what the things we care about present. 2, the positive benefits we receive from our actions, and the negative consequences we can avoid related to our courses. When we lose steam, we aren't tied closely enough to any of those aspects, which come together to create motivation. So what is motivation? Things that really matter to you and are near and dear to your heart, that is motivation. Things that make you actually want to work towards your goal. Things that not only drive you, but also discourage you from giving up. On top of that, you have to minimize negative consequences involved with your work and simultaneously maximize the positive benefits that you receive. There are many ways to define the concepts of motivation, but an effective framework to view them is through external and internal motivations. So we are going to look at the external motivators. External motivators entail using sources besides yourself as motivation to do something. There are other people or circumstances that drive you to action. You are doing something to avoid a negative circumstance or earn a positive circumstance from people and things outside of you. More typically, External motivators are about avoiding negative consequences. For example, you might be trying to avoid disappointing your family by failing, so you are determined to succeed. You might be afraid of getting fired, so you act with aplomb. A majority of these motivators are punishments or negative consequences that you are desperate to avoid. The only positive external motivation is self-bribery. Still, you can get a lot of mileage out of external motivators if you make them work to your advantage. Driving yourself to avoid a negative consequence can serve as an excellent push to do something. No one wants to suffer. If you know that not following through will result in some sort of suffering, you will do anything to avoid that negative consequence. Therefore, you feel as if you have no choice but to follow through. Accountability partners. Who is an accountability partner? An accountability partner or accountability partners are people who hold you accountable. So this is a person that you commit to something with. This person lets you know when you need to do things, and he or she chides you when you want to give up. Then he or she gets on your cause or on your case for not following through. Since you want to avoid disappointing this person, you are more likely to act. You rely on this person to give you the external motivation to avoid shame, so you become accountable for your actions and your goal to avoid his or her negative feedback. You may also become accountable in order to avoid letting this person down, as he or she counts on you to complete the goal with him or her. Accountability group is another aspect we will look at. So an accountability group it's a group that can be more effective than a single partner. By having multiple people holding you accountable, you face the possibility of exponential shame. The shame and disappointment of multiple people building on top of each other is a horrible feeling that you will want to avoid. Plus, you will still have people to hold you accountable should one person drop out of the race. It can be hard to rely on a single partner's commitment, but a group is much steadier in its pressure. So having more people to answer to and to guide you can help you stay on track to avoid shame. Putting money down. The risk of losing money is another motivator that you can use to your advantage. A good example of this is an expensive, gym membership fee that makes you want to go to the gym more often. You don't want to waste money, so you go to the gym just to make that fee you paid worthwhile. Another example is paying a lot of money for a course. You want to finish the course because you paid much for it and you consider it a shame to just waste that fee. By investing in something monetary upfront and even slightly before you feel ready, you'll be pushed to follow through to avoid wasting and losing money. The primary operator here is guilt for spending money on something that you never used or did. You can take monetary investment motivators to the next level by hiring a coach or trainer of some type. This is the next level because paying someone money to hold you accountable combines both monetary investments and accountability partners. Now you have two reasons not to quit or back out of your commitment. You don't want to waste money or hear about how you have failed from a disappointed accountability partner. Finally, you can give someone money and then tell them not to give it to you until you complete something. When you give a friend $500, for example, and instruct them not to return it to you until you complete your tasks, you'll quickly discover just how much your work ethic is worth to you. If $500 is not enough, up the ante next time to make it truly something you'll look and work towards. Self-bribery. A final external motivator is to bribe yourself. This is where you promise yourself a reward if you follow through. Therefore, you let that reward drive you and surmount your difficulties. For example, you might know that you can't take your dream beach vacation if you save your money wisely and earn enough to have spare. Keeping the emotions of the beach vacation can be a powerful reminder every time you want to spend your money. So external motivators are mostly about avoiding pain. So figure out what pains you are avoiding or can create for yourself. Then let your urge to avoid those pains drive you. Avoiding negative social emotions works well because no one wants to feel shame. guilt, or rejection. Use your fear of negative social emotions to carry you through a project or commitment to the very end. We are going to look at internal motivators. So internal motivators are about what you want, as opposed to avoiding a negative consequence or punishment. If you are motivated by avoiding a negative consequence, but you realize at some point that maybe negative consequences won't actually kill you, so you can deal with it, there goes your motivation. You'll simply deal with the consequences sometimes. In some cases, relying on external motivators and fear does not work as well as going after the things you love and want. Therefore, internal motivators are more often better sources of motivation than external ones. We can view it thusly: if you are driven by fear or face a substantial negative consequence, external motivation is ideal, while internal motivation is more suitable if you know what you want and there is little to fear. Internal motivators are your why for taking action and putting in effort. Think of a donkey walking forward to reach the carrot. Internal motivators are the carrot, while external motivators are the stick. External motivators drive you forward out of fear of something unpleasant, while internal motivators make you feel that reaching your goal is going to give you a big reward and lots of pleasant benefits. The more internal motivations you can articulate, the more motivated you will be to follow through and finish or even conclude your task. Ask the following questions to determine how you will benefit, then let your desire for those benefits drive you forward. Internal motivators tend to be more uniform because they speak to people's universal desires and needs. What are you getting out of this? Maybe you are getting money or a sense of happiness and fulfillment in life. You are getting closer to a goal which can mean a lot in terms of benefits. How will your life change or benefit? You may be able to get a better home or a nicer car if you earn more money, or you may be able to recover from depression and ultimate sadness by attaining a higher sense of fulfillment. How will your family benefit? Your family means a lot to you, so let them motivate you. Imagine the smiles on their faces as you give them a better life and make them proud. Imagine getting your kids better school clothes, living in a safe neighborhood, and being able to afford private school and college. So what impact will you have on others? Perhaps you will become a role model for some people, which in turn will make you feel important and good about yourself. Perhaps you can donate to charity or give to needy people with clothes and shoes come winter. Perhaps you can donate money to erect new structures in your community that will be named after you. What positive emotions will you get? Consider the happiness, pride, and self-esteem you will reap from your goal's ultimate completion. After all, this may be the root of all philanthropic efforts. How will your actions lead to your long-term and short-term goals? Are you accomplishing steps towards your goals? Think of the things you must do to finish a novel, for example, such as research and actual word count. Then think of the steps you take each day towards those goals. Using internal motivators in your daily life can really help you follow through with every task you have to complete. Even when the going gets tough and you contemplate giving up, finishing what you start is way easier when you are focused on how your world will benefit. So whenever you have to do something that you hate, think of how it will bring you closer to your goals. Or whenever you find yourself bored or tired while working on your goals, consider how great you will feel when you finish. Every day, review your goals and why you want to complete them. Then let that fill you with motivation to drive you forward toward project completion. Answer the above questions and consider writing them down somewhere. Review the answers periodically to remind yourself why you want to change or improve your status quo. Understanding or conceptualizing opportunity cost. Following through and finishing what you start will always call for sacrifice. You have to spend money, expend effort, and give up time that you could use for doing things you love in order to commit to these things you have to complete. Since by definition, no one likes sacrifice, sometimes the looming shadow of a sacrifice will overshadow your goals unless you create motivators powerful enough to overpower your sense of sacrifice and make each sacrifice seem worthwhile. Everything in life is an opportunity cost, which means that everything you do will call for something from you. Every act takes away time or effort that could be committed to something else. Learning to play the guitar means solitary hours of drilling scales, cords and dealing with painful calluses on your fingers. Going to college entails getting up early and heading to a boring lecture and spending hours doing homework. Are you ready to make the trade-off? If the opportunity cost is too expensive for you to want to pay it, then you will not follow through. Therefore, you must find a motivator that drives you to accept the opportunity cost. If you don't feel motivated enough to pay that cost, then you are guaranteed to lose steam and give up. Therefore, there are two ways to solve this problem. The first is that your motivation must be even stronger and more salient in order to make you ignore these opportunity costs and the things you are missing out on. The motivation must mean more to you than the things you sacrifice to make you feel that this is still and all worth it. The second solution is to make your sacrifices smaller. This means that there is less pain associated with getting things done. In both cases, the cost-benefit analysis must be significantly weighed in favor of the benefit, but the first method manipulates the benefit, while the second method manipulates the cost. An example of this is giving up your weekly Friday night out with friends to go to a late-night history class. This class is essential to getting the degree you need to break into your dream career, but you sure do love your night out with friends. To use the first solution, your desire to get into this career and better your life and feel proud of yourself must outweigh how much you love Friday nights out. You must keep in mind that your life will drastically change for the better if you can resist a few Friday nights. Otherwise, you will find the conflict too great to overcome and you will quit the class in favor of your friends. Let's apply the second solution for the same results. Instead of just giving up on your Friday night out, schedule a different night or drum up the energy to go out after class and spend just a little less time with your friends every Friday night. You are turning a full sacrifice into a compromise sacrifice. The end result is a compromise that makes it possible to keep doing what you want while also working on your goals. When faced with opportunity cost and potential sacrifice, keep in mind that your life can't continue 100% as you want it to. But if you focus on increasing the benefits or minimizing the sacrifice, you can continue progress towards your goals while staying motivated and not listless. Keep your motivation on your mind. Internal and external motivators are great ways to fuel the productivity and commitment required for following through, but they won't do anything for you if they are out of sight and out of mind. According to psychological science, people are more inclined to follow through if they are exposed to stimuli that remind them of their motivators. Seeing or hearing their motivators can drive them to maintain motivation. In other words, sometimes the simplest solutions work best. Constant reminders will keep you on track because our minds can only fixate on so many things. Additionally, Catherine Milkman of the University of Pennsylvania developed the hypothesis that reminders through association could aid people in remembering goals and following through with them. To confirm this hypothesis, she conducted a study whose participants were asked to complete an hour-long computer task. They were promised compensation as well as $1 donated to that local food bank. They were asked to make sure their donations were made by picking up paper clips when they got their compensation. The control group was told this and then thanked for their time. The test group was told that the paper clips would be waiting by an elephant statue. It turned out that 74% of the group told about the elephant statue remembered to get their paper clips at the end of the study. Only 42% of the members of the other group remembered to do this. Having the visual cue of the elephant statue actually made it easier for students to remember to complete the simple task. When students saw the unusual statue, it sparked their memories far more than ordinary looking notes. On top of that, Rogers and Milkman discovered that having very noticeable cues works better than cues that did not stand out. For example, a written reminder did not remind study participants as well as a visual cue, such as one of the aliens from Toy Story. Therefore, the best way to make motivators work for you is to expose yourself to them often. You can use cues to help prompt you to keep your motivation in mind and thus to follow through. However, these cues also need to stand out to you. For instance, use loud, vivid images that you can't ignore, or employ other senses and include sounds, textures, and scents. Include a picture on your desk of your child to remind you to keep working towards your dream for a better financial future for your family. But make the picture frame smell of your child's shampoo or your spouse's perfume or cologne. To emphasize, We aren't just talking about visual aids of putting post-its everywhere. The cues we can use can be spread across our 5 senses in imaginative and creative ways. However, be sure to move and change these cues around every day so that you do not become too accustomed to them and start to ignore them as part of the background noise of your life. Finally, you can also write your motivators down every few days with different phrasing. Again, be sure to change them up to avoid getting too used to them. The act of creating the cue each repeatedly helps to keep the motivation firm and fresh in your mind. The key takeaways. How do we stay hungry and motivated? By delving deep and really asking what internal and external motivators you have at your disposal, a task that is rarely performed. External motivators are when we leverage other people, places, and things to push us into action. For the most part, these are when we want to avoid negative consequences involving other people, places, and things. These methods include accountability partners and groups putting money down upfront and self-bribery. Internal motivators are when we look at how we stand to benefit and improve our lives. These are universal needs, drives, and desires that are easy to lose track of. The easy way to find these is to answer a set of questions that directly ask things such as, how am I going to benefit from this, and how does my life stand to improve from this? It's only through answering these questions that you realize what you are neglecting. Anything you want to accomplish has an associated opportunity cost. We must sacrifice even if we are sacrificing our ability to lie on the couch and watch television. We can deal with this mental obstacle by playing with the cost-benefit ratio so the cost is minimized or the benefit is maximized. Motivation has been shown to work best when we are reminded of it, otherwise out of sight, out of mind. Thus, you should have cues your motivations all around you, but make sure to keep them distinct and memorable. Use all 5 senses, even taste, and make sure to change and tweak them periodically to avoid growing used to them and forgetting them.
Okay, so thank you very much for tuning in. For those who've watched us, we have Judith Nguna online, we have Daisy Kwinga, we have Apostle Joseph Hallon. Thank you for watching this. Replay this. It's a scripted audio note, and I believe it will bless your life. So I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and bye-bye.